Hello, how you doing? I'm glad you're here. It's Gummy. This video today, as you can see by the title, is a quick summary of what I read for this month of February. Now, this is the start to what I hope to be a monthly series where I recap on the books that I have finished in that month. I'd like to do this at the later half or last week of the month, so that way I can kind of give some reflective thoughts, some time away from the book, but also give some big takeaways that I have taken from the reading that I've maybe applied to my personal life, or maybe a lesson I've learned. I usually try to get through 2 to 3 books, finish, front to back, depending on how busy my personal and job schedule gets. 2 to 3 seems to be about the average of what I will finish a month. Some of the genres can range from sci-fi to fantasy, self-help, and maybe a dash of history. But all honesty, I'm pretty open when it comes to genre preferences. But right now, I think I'm kind of hitting my groove in sci-fi or thrillers as of, February 2025. I have 2 books for this month that I want to talk about, and these are 2 books that I finished in this month. Now, that doesn't mean I started them this month. They could take some time, but these are the books I finally read the last page, read the acknowledgments if I had the curiosity to, and put down. So whenever I'm reading, no matter when I start it, I'm going to do an episode that'll be in the episode of when I finish it. By no means are these comments about the book meant to be a critical review or an analytical look. These are more just my reactions, my experiences, and my takeaways from these books. And that's the beautiful thing about books. I will get into why you should read and my experience reading at a later video. But right now, I would have to say, let's get into it. What I have read for this month, February 2025. Book number 1 that I finished, Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. This is not my first experience with S.A. Cosby. I read All the Sinners Bleed last year, and both of these books are definitely top-notch thriller mysteries. All right, so Razorblade Tears specifically takes place in a rural town in Virginia, and you're reading about 2 fathers who begin their book at the funeral of their dead sons who happen to be married. The 2 main characters are Ike Randolph and Buddy Lee. They're 2 ex-convicts that spent time both in the prison system, but also questioning their son's marriage and their son's sexuality. It was something that they pained to understand. These 2 are on the polar opposite of the American experience, like Randolph being a black American and Buddy Lee being a white American, and talking about their experiences before prison, in prison, and after prison. And needless to say, they are united with their son's death, sadly enough. But the unity comes from trying to find the killer of their sons. The cops put the investigation on hold. They're taking too much time, so they want to take action. S.A. Cosby, on the writing side of things, does such a beautiful job at giving the glimpse of these characters and going in depth about the pain and the anger they feel. Their dialogue does not lower its intensity. Sometimes an author can lose you with how the characters speak to each other, but S.A. Cosby thrives in the dialogue speaking department. You can kind of almost hear how these 2 talk to each other, and you pick up on their characters just on their dialogue alone. Whenever I pictured Ike, I would just picture a stacked bodyguard who is someone I would not want to mess with. Where Buddy Lee kind of sounds like kind of white trash, definitely light on his feet, quick with the wit, but nonetheless pretty redneck. But none of that comes through in the description. It comes through his dialogue that S.A. Cosby writes, and it's a great job. It's really engaging to read. And with that engagement, I caught myself rooting for these 2 ex-convicts with their pursuit of trying to do bodily harm to the killer of their sons. It's insane. When you take back a step back and think of the morality of the situation, you shouldn't be rooting for criminals like that. But it's amazing. It's really good. There's a reward for pointing out early foreshadowing in this book. You really like, oh crap, hey. And I'm sure that's the same in all thrillers, mysteries, but this is, one of my first 4 or 5 books in the genre. So I really enjoy kind of going, oh shoot, I called that, or oh, that was a big surprise. Needless to say, I'm going to keep my eyes peeled for S.A. Cosby, because my personal takeaway is something that's really powerful from this book, from this fictional story. The takeaway I had was that the results of revenge will never satisfy you, but there's something graceful, there's something to be learned in the pursuit of revenge. Both characters learned so much about themselves, about their past, and about what they wanted from their future, and obviously their family life, from during that chase of vengeance, of that revenge. That to me was the payoff. You know, what you learn is the payoff, not so much the sweet revenge that you get. We can't change the wrong actions or words that we put into the universe. They're done, they're said, they've been, we can't change it. But we can try to be better than we were yesterday. We can try to use those as a stepping stone to get better, and you see Ike and Buddy Lee really embodying that message and throughout the book, and that was something that was really powerful. Take a look at it if you ever can. All right, book number 2. This is in the self-help genre. The book was titled Meditations for Mortals, 4 Weeks to Embrace Your Limitations and Make Time for What Counts by Oliver Burkeman. I was first introduced to Burkeman after reading 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals last year. It was easy to really say after reading the first book, 4,000 Weeks, I was like, yep, I'm going to read whatever he's got to say. His perspective was very enriching and something I wanted to read more of. Burkeman has devoted a lot of his life to trying to perfect the skill of time management and being efficient with your day-to-day life, whether that's at work, whether that's at home, whether that's your chores, whatever it may be. He wants to be a time-efficient guru, so to speak. But now he really leans into this realm that's kind of scary to think about at first, but liberating once you start to really reflect on it. It's that our mortal state of being should be more accepted. That we're going to die, that our time is limited, should be cherished, should be a motivation, not a rehabilitation when it comes to getting stuff done, when it comes to living a life worth living. Now, that may sound cliche, but he takes it another step further, saying our finitude means that we're not going to get our bucket list done. We're not going to get our to list done. It never will be complete. We are so completionists. We are so drawn to patterns and checking off the to-do list that we're just adding more stress onto ourselves and not living a life and not spending our limited time or 4,000 weeks that the average human lives to our fullest potential. Now, what differs from 4,000 weeks to this book I read for this one, Meditation for Mortals, 4 weeks, Burkeman makes a strong attempt to say, hey, just read one chapter a day for 4 weeks. With 28 chapters. And each chapter is about 4 or 5 pages at most. And I really like that idea. It makes you sit with his idea, his writing for a day. I read it in the morning and I suggest you do the same, but it really let me sit and reflect and go, how can I apply this, or how can I view this perspective today as I carry out my activities, my tasks. One of the biggest takeaways I have from his writing, even after 3 or 4 weeks of reading, I believe it was day 2 or 3, maybe in the 4 or 5 range. He talks about time is a river, and we're just on a kayak floating through. We can't be a dam. We can't be racing down the finish line. Obviously, no one wants to race towards their death, but maybe some behaviors we do speed up the race. But if we treat time as a river that we're flowing down, we can take in the sights. We can battle the waves. We'll get through the waves. If we keep trying to paddle back and take back time and manage time, you're pedaling upstream. It's just you're gonna get more tired. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna be as efficient. But if you let yourself flow down the stream, let these interruptions come and go, let your plans fluctuate as they may, you really have the time to sit down and go, wow, look at this view around me. And that's an image that's still with me. And I read that probably 20 days ago, and that's still stuck with me even now, and it's going to continue to stick with me probably for the rest of my life. There's obviously some other nuggets of wisdom that he drops in here, but the main thing that I appreciated was how real it was. It wasn't trying to say you can complete every task, you can complete every dream, not that you can't, but find things that are worth, sacrificing some time for, but also understand like your efficiency, your desire for efficiency, for perfection, for due dates, for checking off the list. It's only gonna lead you more stressed out. It's only gonna lead to more dismay. So I really suggest, if anyone's a time freak guru, a time management freak, a OCD when it comes to scheduling, check this book out. It was really beneficial, and I could see myself kind of grasping away some of the straws that I've picked up in this book for the rest of my life. So that was it for my list of February. I finished 2 books. I'm currently reading 2 books. I'm finishing Chain Gang All-Stars, great science fiction novel that I'll talk about in March. And I also just started today Marcus Aurelius Meditation. First couple pages in, I'm very impressed, and holy wisdom bombs. Marcus Aurelius knew what he was doing. I'm really excited to see where this series takes me, and hopefully one day I can look back at all the books I read and all these reflections I had on it. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Go check out some books. If you got any book recommendations, drop them in the comments below. If there's any takeaways you had from maybe what these authors were saying, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching. It's Gummy.